One night, you were wrestling for OVW in Owensboro, Kentucky. I believe you were wrestling Stu Sanders, who later became Wade Barrett. In the crowd, someone yelled out, "Go home, Stu the Jew." And while you guys kind of stopped in the moment, you laughed it off and continued with the match. Some years later, I was looking on YouTube, and I came across a clip on Belief.net. This clip was one in which you were talking about the anti-Semitism you faced, and you brought up that specific incident. And I thought back to that time, and I was ashamed because I currently reside in Owensboro, Kentucky. Some years later, I saw you. You were wrestling at an Armory Hall in Bowling Green, Kentucky. The group I was with was able to bring a sign that was aimed toward you. It said, "Clean, classy, clever." I spoke with you before your match began. You asked me what the sign means. I told you that it was an homage to you and old school British wrestling. And I was glad in that moment I was able to, in some small measure, bring some comfort into your life rather than you having to face those same comments or issues regarding Jewish faith. I was glad I was able to share that moment with you, and I encourage you to come back to Owensboro, Kentucky when you're able, and perhaps we can change more hearts and minds.
Oh, I do remember the show. I don't know if I remember the interaction as much as I do specifically remember that show, because there is a stigma about Southern wrestling and maybe north of the border too. And the stigma, not necessarily would be about anti-Semitism, but it's just kind of more about hardcore wrestling fans, I guess. So when I go down south, I just don't expect there to be as many quote unquote internet or IWC wrestling fans. And it seems to me more just kind of local wrestling. So when someone like this guy comes up and he knows all about you through the internet and listens to your podcast and does the research, there's always something about a wrestling fan like that always sticks out to me when you do a show in the middle of nowhere, Kentucky. The match he's talking about is a moment that I will never forget, of course. I don't know if I've been lucky or not. In a perfect world, there would be zero anti-Semitism when it comes to professional wrestling and myself. But in this instance, in Owensboro for OVW, which was WWE Developmental Territory at the time, these fans did not know that I was a Jewish wrestler. What they did know was that Stu Sanders at the time was the heel and Colt Cabana was the babyface. And Stu, as a heel, his name rhymed with Jew. And so what would be a thing to demoralize somebody and say that they are less than? Well, Stu the Jew seemed to work out very well. And Stu, who played the heel at the time, is one of the more progressive and open-minded wrestlers on the scene. He's really a great guy. I couldn't say more great things about Stu, who now wrestles as Wade Barrett or commentates as Wade Barrett. And I remember Stu and I both looking at each other, kind of laughing a little bit just because the laugh was out of nervousness, I'm going to say. It's so crazy that I'm the Jewish one. He had no clue. If he only knew, he's also cheering for me, who is the Jew, who obviously he thinks less of. And I will forever remember that night. That is also the same night that one of my trainers for the WWE Developmental Territory OVW referred to me as Kike Cabana. And I don't remember the exact details, but maybe it stemmed from that. Maybe we were talking about that. And I remember having the same reaction of nervous laughter. What was I going to do? He was literally one of my bosses. He was in charge of me. He could have the say of whether I get fired or not. And I wasn't as sure of myself in the position of life at that time. So all I could think of was, if I say something, it's my word against his. Or if I show hatred towards him, he could put in the reports that I've been bad or I've been a bad person and essentially just get me fired. And do I regret it? Of course. Should I have handled it different? Yes, I should have. Would I have? I don't know. That boss-employee relationship, it's a hard one. But I don't forget Owensboro, Kentucky. That was a 1-2 for me that day when it came to be a Jewish pro wrestler. And those things don't hurt me in the sense of the pride of my Judaism. It hurts me in the sense of people can be like this. So if they say these kind of things or do these kind of things to a person of Jewish faith without remorse, what are they doing to other people? And it all breaks down to everybody is equal, but is everybody really equal? But I love a fan like this. He realized it, he knew it, and he's just trying to make this world a better place. And he's literally trying to do it one wrestler at a time. And I thank you for your support, and I thank you for your class. Hey, thanks for watching. That call was part of a whole podcast called Wrestling Anonymous. Listen to the whole thing weekly. Wherever you listen to your podcast, go subscribe. While you're at it, subscribe right here on YouTube to Colt Cabana's channel. Thank you.